Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the On Deck podcast. I am your host, Roberto, and today we're going to be going over some of the Spring Breakout games, guys that I liked with their performances, and just my overall thoughts on some of the games that happened during this weekend. So kicking it off with the Thursday game with the Rays and Red Sox, and this was quite an entertaining game for being the only game that was played. The Cubs and Dodgers didn't play due to weather, but this was the only game, and man, did it deliver. The Rays ended up winning 7-5. The score really doesn't matter to me when these kind of games are played. It's more how specific guys perform, and looking to see what the future holds for some guys, tinkering with swings or new pitches. But this was a very, very entertaining game. The action started in the top of the third, where we have Christian Campbell going deep, and then followed up by Marcelo Mayer going deep. And then in the fifth inning, we have a very interesting moment with Roman Anthony at the plate, as there was chants from Rays fans saying overrated, and I had a feeling that was just going to make for a very iconic clip as Anthony goes deep and he hits an absolute nuke, and it kind of quiets down the Rays fans a little bit after those chants. But the big three homering for the Red Sox, and honestly, this raises a lot of questions with this group of when do they all come up and where do they play, because like I've brought up with Christian Campbell before, him being a quote-unquote second baseman, but he's also played a couple of outfield spots. They're trying him out in the outfield. Marcelo Mayer being a shortstop, I think he has the best chance to, make an impact, with Trevor Story not being the healthiest of players. I think he can make an impact at the major league level, given the opportunity. Of course, that is if, fingers crossed Trevor Story stays healthy, but I think he has the best shot. But also Roman Anthony making a case to break the opening day roster. The outfield with Boston is very loaded. That's the only problem, because you have Ceddanne Rafaela, you have Jarren Duran, and you have Wilyer Abreu rounding out that outfield. And Wilyer Abreu put up a very solid season last year. Same with Duran, perennial all-star. I'm pretty sure he got MVP votes as well. And Ceddanne Rafaela, I know they moved him around from shortstop to center field, but graded out as one of the better outfielders. He has a cannon for an arm and great speed, so he should profile out to be a good defender out there. But that leaves a question mark of where do they put Roman Anthony? Because DH is currently clogged up with Masataka Yoshida, who has made some swing adjustments in the offseason and is looking to be a bounce-back candidate, looking to be a little bit more available and on the field and producing. So that doesn't really give Roman Anthony any opportunity to really showcase himself as a player until either one of them gets hurt, or you have to trade Masataka Yoshida, whose contract I don't think anybody's really going to pick up, because right now he only gives you value from being a DH. He's not a great defender, especially in the corners at Fenway, especially in left field, where it is a little bit easier to play with because of that monster. But that's the only feasible way that I see Roman Anthony really getting some playing time. The next game I wanted to take a look at was the Phillies versus the Pirates, and more specifically talking a little bit more about Bubba Chandler and his Spring Breakout appearance. He is the number one rated prospect for the Pirates, and rightfully so. He flashed his greatness in his 2 perfect innings, striking out 4, with really flashing some great signs. The life on the fastball was good. The slider looked really sharp. And honestly, I think this guy can make an impact at the major league level come this season, honestly. with the rotation that they have right now of Skeens, Jared Jones, and Mitch Keller, I think you could throw a guy like Bubba Chandler in there later in the season if the Pirates are out of it, which I think most people assume that they are going to be. I think you can really give this guy some run in the major leagues, see what he can really show based on his minor league numbers. He's really had control of the baseball. In 119 and a 2/3 innings last year, he struck out 145, only walking 41. Every year he's brought down the walks per nine and increased the Ks per nine, and I think that's a really good sign, especially from a young pitcher. He is only 22 years old, so put him in that rotation again with Skeens and Jones and Mitch Keller. I think that could be, a really solid rotation come next year. Give all these guys, some more run. I think if we see a full season from Skeens, a healthy season from Jared Jones, and improved Mitch Keller, I think that's a sneaky rotation to watch for the next few years. Next up, we have another pitching prospect, and honestly, one of the more fun pitching prospects we've had in a while. We're going to be talking about Gerangelo Cijntje. And if you're not familiar with him, he's a switch pitcher. He throws with both the right arm and the left arm. And usually when we see even with switch hitters, you naturally have one side that is much better than the other side. There's a couple cases where, the both sides are at an equal level. And for switch pitching, Gerangelo is great from both sides. He got up to 92 from the left side and 95 from the right. He got Travis Bazzana out from both sides, which I think is crazy to think about. He went lefty for his first at bat, which is crazy, and then decided to switch it up and go right on left for the second at bat. It's crazy to think about that we have a switch pitcher and he's throwing in the mid 90s. There was a pitcher for the Jays in the mid 2000s, Pat Venditti. He threw nowhere as close to as hard as Gerangelo does. I think he was topping out at like 85, 86. And, he was a funky pitcher. It lasted a couple seasons in the MLB. But this mid-90s fastball with a slider that's hard to pick up, especially from that left side, where I think he comes more of at a 3/4 arm slot compared to the right side, where it's the release point is a little higher up. But I think he can make an impact, especially with both sides. I do think that the right side is cleaner from a mechanic standpoint, but the left side is just funky, and I think it's going to be hard to pick up for guys. This is also a guy that's not rated in the top 100 just because he hasn't made his debut yet in the minor leagues. But I do think this is someone that's an intriguing prospect. You could see him fly up the rankings. You could see him not be on the list at all, depending on if he continues to be a switch pitcher, which I think will give him immense value, especially if he just develops into stronger from one side compared to the other. I think just the value that he brings, being able to pitch with both hands, is something that definitely will intrigue the Mariners in the future. Possibly, do you move him into a full-time starter, or does he have the stuff that more translates into a longer swingman bullpen role? But I think it's interesting that we see him pitch for the first time in front of all these people, especially on live TV, giving him some recognition of the work he's put into to be an MLB player or a minor league player pitching with both hands, which is still crazy to think about because realistically he could throw one game with his left hand and then, go the next day, throw with his right hand. Realistically, it wouldn't happen, but, hypothetically speaking, we we could see that happen one day. Who knows? But with that, I have two more pitchers from a not so great team right now, but I think could make some noise in the future. And those two pitchers are Hagen Smith and Noah Schultz. Both are the top two left-handed pitching prospects in the MLB. And each of them went 2 scoreless innings in their appearances. And, with the White Sox in the position that they are, not really in a competing environment anytime soon, especially with their roster construction and how they're looking this year. And, maybe next year they're a little better, but I doubt it. But these two guys, I think, can, again, just like Bubba Chandler, can be called up at some point this year. Their pitching right now isn't their strong suit, and I think once you build these guys up, give them, a few starts in AAA, getting them stretched out and just being able to pitch, hopefully, deep into games. I know we don't really see it too often, but I think these guys, especially with the stuff that both of them have, I think they're going to be, frontline starters for the White Sox in hopefully the future sooner rather than later. I think with all the prospects that the White Sox have collected over the last couple years with trades, especially from the Garrett Crochet deal, I think, they're obviously in a rebuilding, but with these two guys and Drew Thorpe, who's coming back from, I think, a bone spur surgery in his elbow, I think this could be, a good top 3. And with them all being relatively young, I think this could be a rotation that, you kind of build around. And hopefully, the White Sox don't break it up and sell them while their price is high. Because I think with the pieces that they have, they've been stockpiling for quite a bit now. And I think in the next couple years, you can see the rebuild starting to turn into, building a somewhat more competitive team. And I don't think they'll be, again, contending anytime soon, but just being not bottom of the barrel every single year. And I don't think that they're going to be as bad as they are once they call up Hagen Smith and Noah Schultz. But these are very two intriguing prospects that I will definitely enjoy watching, because once you get compared to Randy Johnson in Noah Schultz, that guy is just a freak of nature. So once that guy comes up, I'm definitely, this might be one of the few times I'll tune into a Chicago White Sox game, but I will definitely be tuning in to watch that debut. And rounding it out with the last game, it was the Reds versus the Brewers. And, nothing really stood out to me in this game, but there's multiple clips going around on social media with Cincinnati closer Zach Maxwell, who, first off, is a big boy. Oh my. Coming in at 6'6", 275. That's an absolute presence on the mound. And with him being a closer, that is terrifying. Seeing that behemoth on the mound is quite frightening, and he just throws absolute smoke. He has a 70 grade fastball, 60 grade slider, and that was on display in that game, closing out that game. Racked up 2 strikeouts. But the clip that is going around, that kind of got me, I became a Zach Maxwell fan. He closed it out with a strikeout and, pointed out to the Brewers dugout with a thumbs up, and then immediately just slowly turned it down to a thumbs down. And, that's honestly, I may be a little biased, but that as a pitcher, I love that energy. I love it. And I think that's something that baseball is missing, that passion that comes out on the mound. You don't really see it. And I know there's that pitcher for Colorado, Jeffrey Yan, lefty, he jumps up and down after a strikeout, pointing at guys. And I think that's just great. I think, it's a great way to express yourself. And I know some people might get rubbed the wrong way, saying, oh, that's not how you play the game, yada, yada, yada. But, hey, baseball is supposed to bring out, it's a fun game. And if you're passionate about the game, emotions come out of you. And I think that's something that the game needs. And honestly, I don't think we see enough of it. And I know some people, I was reading in the comments, were saying, oh, I'm the Milwaukee Brewers, I'm drilling the next guy right in the ribs. And honestly, I hate that kind of energy because there's just no need for it. Absolutely no need. You're closing out the game, tension is high. I think it just comes out. And, if people get rubbed the wrong way, so be it. But I think after seeing that clip, I have now become a Zach Maxwell fan, and this is a guy I will be now following in the minor leagues. He's got to bring that same energy, though, once he comes up to the bigs. That is something I will be watching. But with that being said, I'd like to thank all of you for tuning in to episode 9 of the On Deck podcast. We have opening day, unofficial, I'll put it in air quotes, opening day, literally tomorrow. So I will be covering that. I'm excited to see the pitching matchups, especially Sasaki pitch again in his first MLB game. But with that being said, it is greatly appreciated if you guys are able to rate and review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, and share it with your friends. Get the podcast out there. It is greatly appreciated, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks.